Well, let's use this diagram and this scale to find the dimensions of the field that's represented. Now I could line up my ruler like this, and I can see the 2 inches. A side note, it really looked like about that, and that would have been 31/32, but I know your author meant for it to be 2 inches. Now perhaps you have a banged up ruler on this front end, and you line up the 1 here and measured to the 3, which also gave you a length of 2 inches. So you've got 2-inch length. And then you're going to spin this ruler, and you're going to reposition it here. This time I'm going to use this up. I'm going to use it just like this. Now, I can read 1 inch, and I've got 3 of these divisions. If you haven't used a ruler in a while, I know we don't like the fractions as much as we used to. Let's just review. That's a 1/2 inch. That's a 1/4 inch. That's an 1/8 inch. And that's a 1/16 inch. So the smallest division that we have here is 1/16. 1, 2, 3 1/16. So my width is about 1 3/16. Notice I'm saying about, so I'm not 100% confident in these measurements. Now I'm going to do a little bit of calculating. I'm going to take that 2 inches times 50, that one's easy enough, and I'm going to say that the length of this field is approximately 100 yards. Now for the width, I'm going to calculate this, and I'm going to come up with about 59 3/8, and let me show you where that comes from. If I take my calculator and see, I could convert the 1 3/16 to 19/16, but suppose you don't like that. Let's just do this. 3 divided by 16. That is the decimal 0.1875 that represents 3/16. So I'm going to add 1 to that. That's 1 3/16 for all you decimal people. I'm going to multiply that times 50. And that's what I get. Now, maybe you put it this way, and maybe you recall that 0.375 is 3/8. Either way, that's the number that I calculated, and I really doubt that anyone designed a field to those dimensions. And I'm not even going to obey rounding rules properly. Instead, I'm going to say that that's about 60 yards. I'm looking for these in dimensions that I think were more probable, and I'm going to say this is a 100 by 60 yard field. So let's find a scale with this given here. Well, that's my given. I've got a 12 centimeter long model. The actual engine is 18 meters. Gosh, that's big. So I could simplify that. And here I've simplified it to lowest terms with integers at least. But in a scale, I usually want to know how much, for example, a centimeter or an inch is worth. So I'm going to take that and divide it by 2. And I'll make my scale 1 centimeter represents 1.5 meters. And that would be choice B right there. Well, little hiking exercise here, a little planning. Meadow View to Whispering Pines, Whispering Pine to Blueberry Hill. Now, I suppose if you're really roughing it out, you take your ruler and you just measure it straight across like that, and you're looking at about 2 3/8, a little more. But, you know, we're really going to be carrying a lot of stuff, so we want to get a good measurement. So we take our string and we lay it along this course. I lay it along and along and along. Then I pick up my string and I straighten it out, and I'm going to measure it. This is the first one. I came up with closer to 2 3/4. Interesting. Now, I trace the string from Whispering Pines to Blueberry Hill. Then I stretch it out next to my ruler, and I got about 1.5 inches. So those are the two measures. Now let's see if we can put them into miles. I'm going to start by, well, just showing a product here. I've got 2 3/4 inches times 3.2 miles per inch. Notice that's different than the way I listed the scale here as 1 inch to 3.2. I arranged it this way on purpose because I've got inches times miles per inch. My good old friend dimensional analysis comes through. I divide out the inches, I'm left with miles. So I know I'm doing it the right way. Let's get a calculator out here. Oh, here we go. Let's clear that. I'm going to take 2 3/4. 2 3/4. If you didn't know that, suppose you didn't know that. Obviously it's 2.75, but maybe it was 16ths or something trickier. I would have said, okay, that's 8, 9, 10, 11, so that's 11 fourths. 11 divided by 4. So now you've got 11 fourths in your calculator. Now multiply that times 3.2. Got 8.8. Hey, that looks pretty easy. So there we go. 8, where did it go? Right there. 8.8 for that first leg. Right? Let's measure, take the next one. We stretched out the string right here to get about 1.5 inches. And then I'll show ups right there. This measurement, 1.5 inches times 3.2. Let me get my calculator out again. This time I'm just going to 1.5. You all should know 1.5 inches is 1.5 times 3.2 miles per inch, and I've got 4.8. And there you go. Well, let's measure some pollen here. Notice we've got a scale here. This photograph is given as a 900:1 scale. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my metric ruler this time. I'm going to line it up on the width there. See, and notice I could go from the end, but okay, I'm going to go from the 1 to the 3. So this looks like I'm reading from here to here. That would be 20 millimeters. 2 centimeters, 20 millimeters. So let's go with that. Move that down here. And that's going to be my measurement. Now, all I have to do is a little bit of proportion. Let's set one up here. So it's 900:1. 900, because this drawing is certainly bigger than the real particle. And the real size, or the measurement of this drawing, that is 20 millimeters. So 900 is to 1 as 20 millimeters is to x, my unknown. That would be the actual size of the particle. So let's do the old cross product here. We've got 900 times x, 20 times 1. And there you go. And all we need to do now, let's pull out that calculator. Because now I've got just 20. Divide both sides of the equation by 900. Divide by 900. Wow, that's a tiny particle. So looks like 0.02 repeating. And there you go.